The rumor started as whispers in the corridors of the Rome Hotel, soft, sharp-edged comments exchanged over espresso and glances cast toward the backstage entrance. Ridge Forrester, head of the legendary Forrester Creations, had been seen too many times in the company of Sienna Leone, a 23-year-old rising star in the European modeling scene. At first, it was harmless gossip. Sienna had been cast as the face of Forrester's Spring Renaissance campaign, and Ridge, ever the perfectionist, was known for taking a hands-on approach. But then came the photos, grainy but damning, captured by a paparazzo with a telephoto lens from a rooftop opposite the hotel. One showed Ridge helping Sienna into a waiting car late at night, hand resting far too casually on her back. Another caught the pair walking through the gardens of the Villa d'Este, Sienna's head tilted toward Ridge, laughing intimate. The images leaked online within hours. Steffy Forrester read the headline over breakfast in Milan, Forrester patriarch or playboy. Ridge spotted in cozy backstage encounter. Her blood turned to ice. It wasn't just scandal. It was legacy, her family's name being tarnished again by her father's inability to see where personal pleasure ended and business began. She had fought too hard for Forrester's prestige in Europe to have it unravel in gossip columns. Worse, Brooke Logan, Steffy's eternal adversary and her father's on-again off-again obsession, was nowhere in sight when the photos surfaced. It was Sienna, young, unpolished, and not remotely part of the Forrester world. Ridge was slipping, and Steffy knew what that meant. Someone would take the fall, and it would never be him. Steffy didn't wait. She flew from Milan to Rome that night, walking into Ridge's suite unannounced. He was alone, shirt half-buttoned, drink in hand. "Is it true?" she asked, no preamble. Ridge hesitated a beat too long. "Steffy, it's not what it looks like." That was all she needed to hear. "You're compromising everything we built," she snapped. "Our designs. Our brand. You think the buyers in Paris won't see this? You think the board back in LA won't call for your resignation if this becomes a scandal?" Ridge set the glass down slowly, voice lower. "I'm not stepping down." "Then I'll make you," Steffy replied coldly, already forming a plan. She couldn't allow Brooke to swoop in again as Ridge's emotional salve, using his guilt to gain power. That was Brooke's pattern: ride the waves of Ridge's crisis, land back in the CEO's suite. Not this time. Steffy had to move fast, and to win, she'd have to do the unthinkable, join forces with Taylor. She called her mother that same night. Taylor Hayes, stunned but intrigued, listened silently as Steffy laid out her idea: expose Ridge's recklessness, block Brooke's inevitable return to influence, and reshape Forrester's power structure once and for all. Taylor hesitated. "You want me to help you oust your father?" "No," Steffy replied. "I want to protect the family. If Ridge won't step aside, we need to force change before Brooke manipulates her way back in. She'll spin this scandal into sympathy and use it to climb." Taylor exhaled. She had tried for years to move on from Ridge, from the triangle that had consumed their lives, but the chance to finally sideline Brooke, to ensure she'd never sit in that chair again, it was too tempting to ignore. Taylor agreed. Steffy and Taylor met secretly in Venice, a rented villa where no one could trace them. They drew up a plan. They would leak select details of Ridge's indiscretion to the board. Enough to raise questions of judgment, but not enough to permanently ruin him. At the same time, they would begin lobbying the stakeholders to consider fresh, stable leadership, subtly pointing towards Steffy as the successor. Brooke, meanwhile, returned to the company amid the PR mess. Publicly, she was supportive, claiming Ridge's choices were his own, but behind the scenes, she began maneuvering. She scheduled meetings with the CFO, began reviewing product lines, and hinted at taking on a more active role. She had seen scandals come and go, and she knew how to turn chaos into opportunity. But she underestimated Steffy's resolve and Taylor's sudden reappearance in the boardroom. Together, Steffy and Taylor moved with precision. They discredited Sienna through quiet whispers to the press, highlighting her prior drug allegations, casting doubt on her character. They framed Ridge's relationship with her as a dangerous lapse in professionalism. An anonymous dossier reached the Forrester board, suggesting Ridge had not only endangered the brand, but potentially exposed the company to lawsuits. Meanwhile, Steffy publicly praised the company's future while suggesting new leadership was needed to adapt to modern challenges. The board grew restless. Ridge sensed the shift and confronted Taylor. "You're turning our daughter against me," he growled. "No," Taylor replied coolly, "you did that yourself." Meanwhile, Brooke caught wind of the alliance. When she stormed into Steffy's office, she expected fear. Instead, she found certainty. "I won't let you slither back into power over my father's shame," Steffy said flatly. Brooke laughed. "You think this scandal hurts me? I'm the only one who knows how to fix Ridge. The company needs stability." "No," Steffy countered, "the company needs freedom from this cycle. You and Ridge implode and rebuild every few years, and everyone else pays the price." Brooke turned on Taylor. "So this is your plan? Crawl back to the board with Steffy's blessing?" Taylor held her ground. "No. My plan is to make sure you never use my ex-husband's weakness to get ahead again." Tensions peaked at the emergency board meeting. The room was tense, filled with decades of power struggles now coming to a head. Ridge sat at the head of the table, silent. Brooke stood behind him. Steffy and Taylor entered together. The board chair addressed the room. "Given recent events, we've had concerns about the company's image. We've received a proposal for transitional leadership." Gasps echoed. Ridge stood. "You're replacing me?" "We're protecting Forrester," Steffy said. The vote was swift. Ridge, blindsided, looked at Steffy. "You're choosing business over family?" "I'm choosing both," she answered. The board approved interim leadership. Steffy and Thomas, co-CEOs, under oversight by Taylor. Brooke wasn't named. Her face paled. Ridge exited without a word. In the days that followed, Brooke attempted damage control. She met with investors, filmed a public statement denying knowledge of Ridge's indiscretions. But the shift was already in motion. Taylor reclaimed her public image as a neutral counselor, not Ridge's fallback. Steffy took control of the narrative, young, sharp, competent, removing the drama of the past generation. Sienna, meanwhile, was dropped from campaigns, her career in limbo. Ridge, exiled from decision-making, retreated to Europe, his pride wounded. Brooke was left fuming, sidelined not by scandal, but by strategy. The war between Logan and Forrester bloodlines wasn't over. But for now, Taylor and Steffy had won. The seat Brooke long saw as hers was finally out of reach, not because Ridge chose someone else, but because his own daughter stood in the way. Taylor, once crushed by love, now wielded quiet power beside her daughter. Brooke, queen no more, stood alone, watching the company she helped build evolve beyond her control. And the world watched as Forrester Creations entered a new era, shaped by vengeance, loyalty, and the cold fire of daughters determined to rise. The rain came down hard over the Pacific, slicing across the sky like blades. The wind clawed at the cliffs above the beach. Somewhere along that stretch of California coast, where waves broke against jagged rocks and the ocean roared louder than any voice, a remote villa stood quiet, isolated, glass-walled, and ominously still. Inside, the fire was lit. A table was set. Toys lay neatly stacked in a corner, untouched. And on the marble countertop, a handwritten note read, "Come alone. He's waiting. Your grandson. This is your chance." Sheila Carter stared at it, breath uneven. The message had been delivered anonymously hours ago, slipped under her apartment door. No return name. No number. Just instructions and an address. She should have known better. Every instinct told her it was a trap. But the handwriting was shaky, emotional. The promise irresistible, Hayes. The child who'd smiled at her once. Who'd touched her cheek. Who had started to recognize her, even say her name. A reunion, even a short one, was everything she wanted. And if there was any chance someone inside the Forrester orbit had relented and arranged it, she had to go. She arrived at the cliffside villa just before dusk. The storm clouds were already gathering, but she didn't notice. Her focus was razor-sharp. The door was open when she got there, just slightly, enough to suggest someone had gone in quickly, carelessly. She pushed it open and called out, "Hello? Hayes?" Silence. Then a faint creak upstairs. Sheila stepped inside. Her heels echoed on the marble. The fire crackled. The place smelled like salt and dust. No sign of the boy. She moved toward the stairs slowly, her breath catching. And then nothing. A shadow moved behind her. The door slammed. A lock clicked into place. She was not alone. Meanwhile, miles away in Los Angeles, Finn and Steffy were at home when the call came in. It wasn't a voice, just a distorted message playing on loop. "Your son is with her. Come quickly." Steffy froze, eyes widening. "Sheila," she whispered. Finn grabbed the phone, playing the message again. The voice had been digitally altered, but the implication was clear. Someone had taken Hayes, or at least made it look that way, and sent him to Sheila. And Sheila, if she believed it, would go. Finn immediately traced the GPS ping from the phone. "It's a coastal property outside Ventura. A storm's coming in. If we leave now," Steffi was already grabbing her coat. "Then we leave now." As they drove north, the rain hit harder. Winds howled along the canyon roads, trees bent under pressure, and the coastline vanished behind a curtain of water. They were half an hour out when a landslide blocked the main road. Finn swore, rerouting through the bluffs. But the detour was longer, steeper, and the storm was worsening. By the time they reached the outer edge of the cliff road, their SUV skidded against a fallen branch. They were forced to abandon it and continue on foot. Soaked, cold, stumbling across mud and stone, they pushed toward the villa, just as lightning split the sky and thunder shook the ground beneath them. Inside the villa, Sheila had discovered the truth. There was no child. No Hayes. No family waiting to forgive. Just a cold, silent trap. Whoever brought her here had vanished, leaving her in a sealed house, with no phone signal and rapidly deteriorating weather. Panic clawed at her chest. She tried the windows, the doors, even the garage. Nothing opened. Then she heard it, voices, faint but growing louder. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw them, Finn and Steffi, soaked and exhausted, climbing the stone steps toward the front door. Sheila's heart stopped. Relief flooded her, until she saw what followed behind them, a wall of water building off the coast, a wave surging unnaturally close. The wind was shrieking. This wasn't a storm. This was a disaster. Sheila threw open the front door. "Get inside," she screamed. Finn saw her and shoved Steffi forward. The three of them barely made it through the entrance before a bolt of lightning struck the nearby generator. The lights exploded. Power cut. The house went black. A massive tree cracked through the front gate, crashing down behind them. They were trapped. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The only sounds were wind and breath. Then Steffi turned on Sheila. "You set this up, didn't you?" "No," Sheila said quickly. "I got a message. Same as you." "I thought Hayes was here. Why would we believe you?" Steffi snapped. "Because I didn't bring you here. Someone wanted this to happen to all of us." Sheila's voice cracked. "We have to get out. There's a basement. Maybe a storm shelter," but before they could move, the house shuddered. A portion of the roof collapsed above the rear atrium, cutting off the back exit. Smoke began to fill the hallway. Something electrical had caught fire. Steffi and Finn rushed to check the rest of the house, but every exit was blocked. The structure groaned under the pressure of the storm. Wind tore at the windows, and the glass threatened to implode. In the chaos, Finn twisted his ankle. Steffi supported him. Sheila moved ahead, checking for structural stability, surprisingly calm, surprisingly capable. She found a trapdoor behind a panel in the kitchen. "There's a crawl space," she shouted. "It leads to the drainage tunnels under the bluff. We can get out, but we have to move now." Steffi hesitated. "You go. We'll find another way." "There is no other way," Sheila screamed. "I can crawl through first. Then I'll help you. But we have to trust each other for Hayes." That name landed like a punch. Steffi looked at Finn, then at the rising smoke, then nodded. Sheila dropped into the tunnel first. It was narrow, barely wide enough for her frame. Water rushed beneath. She turned and reached back. Finn came next, groaning in pain. Sheila took his arm, held his weight, guided him down. Then Steffi. Midway through the crawl, the tunnel shook. A section of the villa collapsed above, cutting off the kitchen entrance. Debris rained down behind them. They were completely trapped, unless they kept moving forward, toward the exit Sheila had scouted. The tunnel narrowed again, forcing them to go single file. Then Finn slipped, his leg caught between rocks. The water surged higher. Sheila turned back, saw his face twisted in pain. Steffi screamed. "Help him." Sheila froze. She could run. She could escape alone. No one would blame her. No one would know. But Hayes would. Finn would. Even Steffi, years from now, would remember. This was the moment. Her moment. Redemption wasn't about words. It was about choice. She turned back, wading against the water. She reached Finn, used her arms to brace his weight. "Pull when I say," she told Steffi. 1, 2, 3. They heaved. Finn's leg came free. He screamed, but he was moving again. They dragged him through the last stretch of tunnel, coughing, soaked, broken but alive. Finally, they emerged on the lower cliffs, beneath the villa. The storm was dying. The clouds began to break. And above them, the villa collapsed entirely, sending smoke and splinters into the sky. Hours later, emergency crews arrived. Paramedics took Finn. Steffi rode beside him. And Sheila, bruised and burned, sat alone under a blanket, watching as firefighters surveyed the wreckage. One officer asked her name. She hesitated. "Sheila Carter," she said softly. "I was with them. I didn't cause this. I helped." Later, at the hospital, Steffi stood outside Finn's room. She watched her husband sleep, leg bandaged, breathing steady. Sheila sat down beside her. "You could have left," Steffi said. "No one would have known." Sheila didn't look up. "I would have known." Silence stretched. Then, in a voice barely audible over the hum of machines, Steffi said, "This doesn't erase the past. But you saved him. You saved me." Sheila nodded. "Not for you. For Hayes." Steffi didn't answer. But she didn't walk away either. That night, headlines called it a miracle. Sheila Carter survives cliffside collapse, saves estranged son. The media speculated redemption. The Forresters remained silent. But for the first time, the conversation wasn't about her crimes. It was about her choice. A single choice, made in the dark, that might finally change everything.